Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. Welcome to Two Women in Crypto, a weekly podcast birthed on a whim by two women who are excited about the cryptocurrency landscape and have a shared passion about empowering others to step into the digital, tokenized world of the future. We offer tips, tricks, and our own individual insights as to how to begin to navigate this shift. We are not financial advisors nor experts. We are just here to encourage you to look at the possibilities. So welcome to the future. You're right on time. Good morning. Cheers. Clink, clink.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Two Women in Crypto. We started the show off a little earlier today. I was texting Kelly, moving on up.
Yeah, there's lots of really cool things happening out there. Amongst the chaos, the birthing of new things.
Yes, I love that. That should be like the theme of the rest of this decade.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. The rest of okay, yeah.
I
It's
know.
gonna be that way for quite a while. So here we go.
So here we go. So, we've been getting a lot of feedback from the community, which we really appreciate. So today we wanted to focus on, if you're new to crypto, and watch this video. So Kelly and we're going to go over some basics of, cryptocurrency, the blockchain, and, we're moving into a digital economy, and it could be super overwhelming. And sometimes when we don't understand things, right, Kel, we just shut down.
Absolutely. And we've been doing this for, golly, it's the 100th episode, so coming up on 2 years. Is that right?
Yeah.
God, that just is crazy. But sometimes we get so caught up in the minutia of what's happening now, we forget that there's a lot of people that are tuning in that are like maybe just beginning to lean into what cryptocurrency is and not really understanding. And it's a lot to take in. So just take bits of it, just take bits and pieces of it and lean into what feels right for you.
Yeah. And I think sometimes too, it's like, well, let's look at where we are today with technology and let's move back into the 90s.
Oh, sure.
Right. So the internet was released and we could email each other back and forth. Right. And then we could, share information with each other. And then probably around a decade later, we had smartphones. So now we can read information, we can write information. We have these awesome cell phones that are the most sophisticated computer device that you've ever held in your hand. Okay.
Absolutely.
And when we send each other emails, what do, Kel? We type in HTTP /web address.
Right.
We don't think about that. We don't think about what's HTTP protocol and how does it work.
No.
So when we think about the blockchain, we're just like, okay, so we can send each other emails. Now we can store things, right, in the cloud, right? We have Dropbox. And now, we can actually build another layer on top of the internet that's going to secure the internet. And that's called the blockchain. So if you think about my bank account, it might be at Bank of America, but that has one server. So when we see all of these different hacks happen, very insecure, keeping our money in a regular bank account. But if I'm holding Bitcoin and I'm holding it on the blockchain, right, through my private wallet, there's not one point of failure. There's tens of thousands of nodes all over the world. So if a hacker attacks some of these nodes, it's not going to crash the blockchain.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
Because of the validation process. There has to be a validation process per transaction.
Right, right. And what makes Bitcoin so cool is that not only is the blockchain validating that process anonymously, right, but we're doing it peer to peer. And that's the part where I think people we can't wrap our heads around it.
Right.
Right. So if I'm sending you a transaction with Bitcoin peer to peer, that means I'm not asking permission from Bank of America, PayPal, Venmo, Wells Fargo, etc. We
Right.
are dealing directly peer to peer. Andrea, send me $100 in Bitcoin. Okay, Kelly, give me your address. Boom, boom. Just like sending an email, but now we're sending value through the
Exactly.
internet. Yeah.
Yeah, and things don't get hung up. I mean, sometimes they do a little bit if there's a lot of transactions going on, but these transactions are immediate. So if you think about wiring your family money on the blockchain when you're doing things of that nature, it's instantaneous, whereas a bank will hold things up for days often. So, we need those things to happen quicker in order
Yeah,
to
no,
function in the world
absolutely.
today.
Absolutely, right? So if we think about, if we're just entering into this space, just think about the internet's getting an upgrade. Our financial system is getting an upgrade. And it needs to happen because even, I was an IT recruiter for over 20 years. And when I worked on banking clients, they were all still using mainframe technology, right? So remember DOS when we first got our computer and we would turn it on and there was like that little square going, with, you know,
Yep.
so
Yep.
we can't continue in this new world running on these old systems.
Right. Nope, not at all.
And blockchain solves this problem. Okay. And the beautiful thing about, cryptocurrency, and we use Bitcoin as an example because Bitcoin is the biggest cryptocurrency. It was the first cryptocurrency and everyone understands it to a point. They at least heard of it. Okay. So, again, it's just like we are building the internet of value and it's just an additional layer on the internet. And when we think about like a digital currency, right, a lot of times people will say, well, Andrea, I'm already using digital money, but you're asking permission.
Right.
Blockchain, you don't need permission. You don't need to trust a third party entity. We verify, right? We just verify. And that's what the blockchain is doing. Okay.
Exactly. Yep.
I love it. I love it. So again, when we think about cryptocurrency, it's just a medium of exchange. And it was really interesting because I was like really kind of sitting with this during the week. And I was like, the concept of like, what is money? Like, what is money? Money's just made up, right? So we say gold has value. We say these fiat or dollars or United States dollars have value because we agree that it does, right?
Right.
So, and that could be value of anything, but when I think about like what's a medium of exchange, it's just a tool to help us trade, right? I mean,
Yep.
and again, and then if you think about medium of exchange, store of value, and unit of account. Okay, so if I say I want to invest in Bitcoin because I believe it's a store of value, well, that's money. If we're transferring Bitcoin back and forth to each other as a medium of exchange, that's money.
Right.
If I say, hey, Kelly, I need a new computer and it costs me 0.05 Bitcoin, I'm using Bitcoin as a unit of value. Three prongs that make up what is money: medium of exchange, store of value, and unit of account. Bitcoin, folks, is money. It's internet money. We could call it magic money. We might not fully understand it, but this is our new money and it's global. It's borderless. And it's so important right now, right?
Yes.
I
Sorry,
see
I
you.
have my dog over here drinking his bowl of water, and it sounds like a waterfall of noise, so I apologize.
I totally get it. I always say my dog is like, she's such a lady unless she drinks water. So just to kind of go back and and I try to think of like all these different examples, right? Of like, when I sent you an email, right? Back through my AOL account when we all first got on the internet, I would get a copy, you would get a copy. So it was impossible to send money without using like a Zelle app or a Venmo, a third party intermediary. So understand that Bitcoin solves this problem, right? So through the code that was written within this program, it deducts the Bitcoin from my account and puts it into your account. And they call that the double spend problem. Now, Bitcoin was the first cryptocurrency to solve that problem.
Yeah, that's a great example of it for sure.
Right. So, and then we just look at practical things. It's like, okay, well, I don't understand. And I'm just using Bitcoin because everyone understands Bitcoin or knows Bitcoin. But like when I think about, okay, so Bitcoin now, when I listen to Larry Fink from BlackRock, Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan Chase, and they're talking about cryptocurrency is a flight to safety. We have high inflation with our dollar. So I'm watching these like conglomerates, and where are they moving their money? They're moving their money into Bitcoin. So I might not understand what the blockchain is, but I understand that BlackRock is the third largest asset manager in the world. Not the third largest, the third largest global economy with the United States and China, and then it's BlackRock. So, right. So if BlackRock is opening up and applying for a spot Bitcoin ETF, which is just an exchange traded fund where they're going to put it on NASDAQ, the New York Stock Exchange, international exchanges, I might want to do some research on, what's going on with this Bitcoin.
Absolutely. I mean, and again, the industry is still going to try to scare you away from it. The general news is still going to try to scare us, the general population, away from it, as far as showing it as a risky investment, et cetera. So what we encourage you to do is lean in to this information and other information and begin to do some deep dives of your own to understand.
Totally. Because it's so important. And when I'm looking at, Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, and I'm looking at the money that's coming into the market right now, right? And it's going to continuously come into the market over the course of the next year and a half. Like, I want to do some research on what is going on in the world.
Right.
And I want to question, why did Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, the largest bank in the United States, just sell 100 million shares of JP Morgan Chase the first time in his tenure?
I think it was 140 million, wasn't it? I mean,
I think it was like worth that. Yeah. I don't know. I keep getting different numbers.
No,
so.
but that should have everybody leaning into what does he know and or expect to happen in a very short period of time for him to make such a big move. That's a huge thing to do, a huge transaction to make.
Huge, right? And then Warren Buffett, who is the leader of Berkshire Hathaway, 6 months ago, he sold all his bank stocks except for Bank of America.
Yep.
So, I know for me, if I had $100 bill in my hand a couple of years ago, my purchasing power was way stronger than it is today. So from 2020 to today, I need about 30, 40, 50% more to buy the same amount of goods.
Right.
So when I look at the price of Bitcoin as a store of value, and I'm looking at that Bitcoin chart for 1 year, Bitcoin's up 80%. My purchasing power is down 30%. What's a better store of value, Bitcoin or the United States dollar? And this isn't financial advice. This is just like, let's just think about this, folks, because the world is changing, right? I mean, we are moving into a digital economy, right? Jerome Powell, the Federal Reserve Chair, he says the economy is recovering, but we're recovering into a new economy that's leveraged on technology. So what's this technology? Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP, XLM, all of these different projects. So we just want to take a step out and be like, okay, this isn't funny money.
Right.
Okay. Bitcoin is not attached to a bank. If Kelly makes a transaction on the blockchain, I can see it. It's transparent. I like the fact that blockchain's transparent because I don't like the fact that our government entities aren't transparent. I'm not going to talk about that right now. I'm not going to disclose that. Well, I'm not saying, like now Gary Gensler, right? You look up Gary Gensler. He's the head of the Securities Exchange Commission. He's literally making videos today saying, well, I don't really understand why there's not a spot Bitcoin ETF.
Oh man, that man.
Right? So it's like, okay, the SEC got sued by Grayscale, which is one of the largest holders of Bitcoin, right? They have
Yep.
a trust, and now they want to convert it into a spot Bitcoin ETF. And Gary Gensler from the SEC didn't do it. For all of these years, we've been trying to get a spot Bitcoin ETF. And now all of a sudden, we got to get this spot ETF approved while Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan Chase is selling their stock in the banks.
Absolutely. I mean, if you can't look at the chessboard, I mean, they keep on moving all their little pieces around. They know exactly what they're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
So again, and I think like the other thing I really want to kind of drive the point home, especially like living in the United States, we have the world reserve currency. Okay. So, but if I'm living in Cuba, Lebanon, El Salvador, Argentina, Turkey, Ukraine, Russia, what am I doing right now? I'm like, how can I buy goods and services? You know, some of these systems, like some of the money systems have been frozen. Their dollar's been devalued, right, through either hyperinflation or like wartime. But we can exchange censorship resistant with Bitcoin. And we're seeing countries start to adopt Bitcoin for legal tender, which is legal payment of goods and services. So Bitcoin is global. I know in the United States, we think so many things in terms of dollars, but I'm looking at the global world, and the global world is moving to Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency, but I'm just trying to keep it, you know.
Yeah.
Does
And I
that make
think,
sense?
well, yeah, absolutely. And I think what happens though, quite often for somebody who's new, they think of Bitcoin and they think of it as an inaccessible asset for them to acquire, right? So you look at it, it's at 35,000 right now, roughly. It is, we're getting ready to enter a bull market, and they think to themselves, oh my gosh, I don't have $35,000 to get into the market. I don't have $10 to go to the grocery store this week, or whatever the case may be. But there are ways that you can participate in this changing financial landscape in a very meaningful way based on your own financial scenario by dollar cost averaging in. And it's not just Bitcoin, as you alluded to, there are thousands of
Right.
projects out there. But there are the projects that we know are slated, have been already adopted, and kind of touted as the chosen ones moving forward into this new financial landscape. So don't let the thought of Bitcoin be so overwhelming that you don't lean into other opportunities and or ask questions to Andrea, myself, or anybody else in your community that might know a little bit. I don't necessarily recommend you go to a bank and ask them questions because they really don't know. But yeah.
Yeah.
Bitcoin to a lot of people is just like, oh my gosh, I'll never acquire a Bitcoin. But there's
Right.
fractionalization, if you will.
Exactly. Exactly. So you can use an exchange like Uphold, right? And it's just like a Charles Schwab or Coinbase. And you can, put in your information. It's just like opening up a trading account.
Yep.
And like what Kelly said, you can literally buy $25 a month of Bitcoin. And if we look at Bitcoin as a store of value that is censorship resistant, outside the centralized system, nobody can change it.
Right.
Nobody can take your money away from you. It is a good store of value and it's accepted globally. I mean, Bitcoin has a lot of good things going for it, right? Very decentralized with thousands of nodes. So, it adds up over time, right, Cal? Like we've been in this for years now, but we're always dollar cost averaging. And over the course of time, you can really see, your value go up and the amount of coins that you hold. And, when I look at Bitcoin and I'm like, okay, it's very similar to gold. It's outside the system, right? But Bitcoin is actually way more portable, right? So if I was like taking a plane ride, would I want to take $20,000 of physical gold on the plane, or do I just want my phone with my Bitcoin on it, right? So it's super portable, So I just wanted to, make that mention because, during the 1930s, when we were going through like a monetary crisis, like what did our government do to gold, Cal?
What was that? I'm sorry, you cut out during the 1930s and then.
Yeah, what did our government do to gold?
Oh, I mean the dollar against gold?
No, we weren't allowed to hold gold, right?
Right,
I mean, the
exactly.
government, right. So the government, if the government needs your money, they're gonna take it, right? So,
Right.
or they're not gonna let you hold gold. So same thing with Bitcoin, it's outside the system. So to me, it's such a good safety net as we move through these uncertain times.
Yeah. I was thinking of when Richard Nixon took away the gold to dollar when gold was backing our currency, but fiat is no longer backed by gold since Richard Nixon's era.
Exactly. And fiat is backed by the trust in our government and all the governments around the world.
Right.
And I'm seeing across the board that people are losing faith in their governments around the world because their dollar is losing purchasing power. So people are going to be looking for a new store of value, and that's cryptocurrency. And when I think about the upgrade to the internet, onto the blockchain, the way that we bank, the way that we interact with money is changing, right? It's not going to be like, hey, how many dollars do you hold? It's going to be like, what currencies do you use, right? And then we're going to be, yeah. And we already do it, right? We're in this new world. So sometimes it's good to take a step back and just be like, how did this whole thing start?
Well, I mean, if you look at it today, we're now a majority of people use their phone to pay. They've got the tap to pay with their phone. I don't do that. And then we have our credit cards. Well, back in the day, of course, we're dating ourselves. Of course, there's cash and checks. Who writes a check anymore? Typically those that are, quite a bit older that still might be in the grocery line writing a check. You don't see it that often anymore. But the reality is that credit cards and everything are going away. We will end up with QR codes and a device in hand, or those that choose to put it in their body, whatever that may be. You're just going to be walking around as your own bank in this format where you're not having a checking account, so to speak, and you're not having all these other things. And it would be really interesting to lean into how they're teaching finances in high school to children, to young adults. And or if they are, last time I checked, they're still teaching people around how to write a check, which was just last year when I was asking a finance teacher, which is beyond.
I know.
Beyond
I know.
me.
I know. And the good news is, and I think it's super slow for adoption, but like I look at like Cardano, XRP, and what are they doing? They're going to universities now and they are providing them all the information to start educating the future, right, generation on the blockchain, on new payment systems and rails. It's unfortunate. It takes a long time for the school systems to change. But again, if I was a parent, my child would be learning cryptocurrency and the blockchain 100% for sure. and the importance of all the different changes that are going on in the world.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So what do you think? Did we do a good job? Give us some feedback, because we're kind of doing this on the fly. I've been traveling so much. I woke up this morning. I was like,
Where am I? Where am I?
know, it's so crazy.
And we'll repost that video that you did. You shared with us a few months ago, probably a few weeks ago, actually, about Cuba and how they're transacting with Bitcoin in Cuba. And I know that I'm sending cryptocurrency each week. There are certain people that are beginning to accept it. For instance, there was just an artist show here where I live, and I live in Portland. And one of the vendors, one of the artists, was accepting cryptocurrency. And she was or older, which was super cool. I yet to see the adoption so much in the younger generation yet here, which I find really interesting. But yeah, that was so cool to see that.
That's so super cool. And that's such a good point too, because you could do peer-to-peer transactions, or you could go to overstock.com, and you could buy things with Bitcoin there. And there's a great website called Travala that accepts over 200 cryptocurrencies, and you could book a hotel and I think an air flights, just like hotels.com, Travala.com. Check it out, because these are like the new cutting edge technologies for new transactions for goods and services, right? So we're moving forward. We're getting legislation signed in the Congress. This is a big deal. Okay, Congress is meeting because cryptocurrency is going to be a big part of our new financial system. So important, right? So Kelly and I show up every week. We try to silence all of this fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and stick to the facts. And if you have questions, we do a monthly Q&A at the end of the month, every Saturday. We're doing a deep dive in a couple of weeks on XRP, XLM, and XDC. Three coins that, it's really disruptive technology. It's not so much about the price, but how is this going to change our current financial system, our payments? So interesting.
Well, and again, we know that these are some of the adopted projects for the new financial future, the ISO 222, and you can do your research on that. And none of this, again, is financial advice, but if you look at their price points right now, what they're trading at, and where we, just it's just going to be the normal growth of the market.
Yeah.
It's a good time to lean into these projects. So join us. It's going to be November 18th at 11 a.m. Eastern time. And you can find the registration online on our website. And it's only $45. The class is recorded. You'd get a copy of the recording, but it's going to be great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's just like, Kelly and I, again, we encourage everyone, do some research, right? Do your own research, because what Kelly and I find is 100% of people that do the research invest.
Yep.
Because we're moving into a new economy, and that economy is based on the blockchain. So, as our dollar loses value, we want to look into other projects that are not only going to survive, but they're going to thrive.
Right. Right. Exactly. And there's hundreds to choose from.
Right. And that's why
we try to dial it in.
Yep. For sure. Awesome. All right. Well, this has been super fun. I'm glad we were able to take some time out and do a little, basic crypto class. If you have any questions, reach out to us. And until next time, Kel.
What do? We HODL'on. Your hosts for Two Women in Crypto are Andrea Caldero and Kelly Lair. You'll find more information and details regarding the Two Women in Crypto membership, educational and informative class and event offerings, and more via their website, twowomeninCrypto.com. Both Andrea and Kelly are available for speaking events and offer private consultations focused on helping individuals navigate the future. Until next time, HODL'on.